Hi guys, how are you doing? Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Regina Space and thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who have been watching my recent videos, everyone who have subscribed, and everyone who has been liking the videos. That is very encouraging, guys, so keep on doing that. Today I'm back again with another video, and I know the question is, this girl going to remain in the UK? So I want to address the question of me remaining back in the UK or not. So I want to address that. First of all, it's not a very simple question to answer. I mean, it's not even easy for me to give an answer. It's not as simple as yes or no, you know. It's a very heavy question even for me to be thinking about it. I began thinking about it, I think immediately I got an offer to come here. I began thinking of my transition from after I'm done with my master's. Would I want to explore, you know, the idea of staying here, or would I want to go back to Kenya? And I remember there's a time this question stressed me out, and I remember going to my Notion page and drawing out a huge table of the pros and cons of going back home or not. And I think that's the table I should open on my laptop here, guys. I have like 3 main ideas that I'll talk about in this video for me trying to answer that question. It's not as easy as yes, you remain here. I mean, apparently I do not even have any family here in the UK. It's only I myself, so it's not an easy thing to consider. And it happens that I'm a last born, so if I had like a sibling, I would sort of, you know, say they are my dependent and perhaps bring him or her here. But now I'm the last born. I have no family in the UK, so yeah, it's not an easy thing for me to do. And I know there are people who have been able to you know, come into the UK and live here and excel here despite not having family. Hey Fanny, yeah, really kudos to them, but for me it's not an easy thing to consider. So on my pros and cons table, staying in the UK, let me look at the pros first, since we're trying to be positive here, right? So as a wheelchair user, one thing I really appreciate about this country as compared to Kenya, I can only compare it to Kenya because yeah, that's where I'm from, is that the UK has way much more improved accessibility as compared to back home. So as a wheelchair user, that's really a big plus for me, a really huge one. I'm able to, like for example, in my college, I move around with my wheelchair, going to my department, actually even running my errands. I still do them on the wheelchair. I'd go to the grocery store, come back, wherever it is I'm going, or maybe hanging out with friends. So it's very easy for me to navigate and maneuver around with my wheelchair. Compared back to home, back to Kenya, the terrain, the physical accessibility of our country, it's horrible to say the least. It's really horrible to say the least. And not even just the terrain itself, the physical environment itself, even the mode of transport. At least here in the UK, the buses are accessible. I mean, whenever I've been wanting to go to a place, I've not really had to take a taxi. I mean, taking a taxi is a luxury because of the timing and all that, but the public means of transport here are very much accessible. The buses have ramps, you know, the driver would see you and just pull out the ramp very quickly for you. The trains are accessible again, so there's really no that much need of using the taxis and all that. And again, even if you want to use the taxis are wheelchair accessible. There are taxis that are wheelchair accessible, which is really good. Back at home, I mean, do we even have any matatu that is accessible? I know they started bringing the electric buses, but are they accessible? I haven't used any. And I remember it has been so long, I think over 10 plus years I haven't used a matatu. So that's really a plus. So that just means the quality of my life, if I decide to remain here, as it comes to accessibility, is going to be so much, way much better. And that's a very strong pro, you know, that's a very valid reason as to why I would want to remain back in the UK. Another pro of me remaining in the UK is improved access to support needs for persons with disability. So I just wanted to say, like, health-wise especially, I know NHS, whatever happens with NHS, you know, really it's heavily underfunded, so we can't really blame them. But I've noted even the quality of the medication you get when you're sick, you can't compare it back to Kenya. For example, an antibiotic here, I'll take it for like 2-3 days and I'm okay. And back in Kenya, I could take like antibiotics even for like 2 weeks. And it's the same antibiotics here, but here you see it's different. And perhaps I'm not a doctor, I'm not bashing Kenya, I'm not bashing our pharmacist, I'm not bashing anyone really, I'm just giving my experience. Like here you have access even to way much more. You can even be able to buy the test kit, test yourself, and just call your GP, your surgery, and tell them you've been able to test yourself and that's what you observed. And again, being a wheelchair user, here I'll have like access to the best medical care with regards to my condition whenever it is needed. I mean, I don't really need much, but again here it is the medical technology here is way much more improved, and I feel I could benefit from that. You know, why not? That's a valid reason as to why I would want to remain back in the UK. Definitely a good living environment. The place, I've been to Cambridge only, and Cambridge is so beautiful. So perhaps they exist in a bubble. That's what the people in the UK say, that people who live in Cambridge, they exist in a bubble. Just come outside and you'll get to face reality. But honestly, I love the environment here. And the environment, you know, you'd think about there's nothing like littering in the environment, you know, the garbage collection, you know, very heavy on recycling, you know. It's a clean environment, a beautiful environment, an environment you can say that someone maintains this environment, you know, exactly. And that's really good, you know, because sometimes in Kenya, especially when it rains, oh my God, you're moving around and you're like, huku ni wapi? Huku ni wapi? Anyway, on a light note, you know, this is an environment that I would want to live in, that I would want to bring up my family in, you know. Another valid reason as to why I should remain in the UK. You agree with me by now? Another pro for me, I did put this down, like I'll fulfill the living abroad ambitions, desire, or dream I had. Yes, I used to have it. I mean, let's all agree, Kenyans. Who doesn't have that, an inkling of that desire? Oh, I'd want to live abroad one day. Because I had it. And I still have it. It's not that, you know, I've changed my mind about it, but I'm still thinking about it and weighing everything so that at least I make an informed decision. Yeah, and that's the thing, being an adult, it's really hard. You have like to make very serious life decisions, and this just happens to be one of those that I'm really dilly-dallying about it. Let's now go to the cons. You remember the pros? The pros: improved accessibility, improved healthcare, a good living environment, and of course I've said fulfilling that dream and that desire of wanting to live abroad. Let's now look at the cons, guys. Let's look at the cons. The harsh weather. Oh please, why is this country so cold? I mean, I've never lived in any winter or whatever. I've lived in Kenya only, and we know our weather patterns, and they're okay, and even outsiders love our weather so much. But honestly, the weather here, if it's not cold, it's raining. The sun would be out, but still it's not producing the same amount of heat we experience back at home. In fact, it could be very sunny outside, and you just walk out and you're like, whoa, it's giving not what it's supposed to give. And so, especially the harsh weather, and I used to say, I don't know whether I can survive in the UK weather, especially the winter. And people are just like, you will. Of course, I've been able to survive, but it has not been easy. I'm not like been enjoying myself, you know, while going through the winter and all that. That cold, honestly, you can see even the way I'm dressed right now. Honestly, I'm in my room. It's not that cold, But I know if I remove this sweater before I go to bed and I stay along, especially on my working table, I'm gonna start feeling cold and I'm gonna be going to bed, shivering. I even had to buy a heating blanket from Amazon. I'm gonna put the picture here. A heating blanket, because it was so cold and I used to find it so hard even to sleep. Like, I think for me, I'm not able to fall asleep when it's cold or when I'm feeling cold, especially my hands or my legs or even my back is feeling cold. I can't fall asleep, honestly. I had to buy that heating blanket. Thank God it saves energy, it doesn't consume a lot of electricity. So me existing in this environment of jackets all the time, being rained on all the time, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll notice, especially ever since the winter began, I've not even been sharing most of the photos, because when you're walking outside, honestly, it's so cold. I don't want even to have my hands outside. I want to have my hands in my pocket because it's so cold. That's a strong reason for me to want to move back home, honestly, the weather. Another pro, the cost of living. Let me tell you here, people work really hard. People earn good money, but close to 50 or 60% of that just goes into the bills, especially the rent. It's outrageous. On top of that, you pay for electricity, you pay for gas, you pay for council tax. Honestly, coming from Kenya, where our housing, and perhaps I'm gonna speak here like someone who is really privileged, where our housing is really affordable, especially huge housing. Here you'd find that you cannot even rent a 2-bedroom or a 1-bedroom on your own. Like, you need housemates because it's ridiculously expensive. And I've been wondering, do I just want to be telling people I live abroad, I earn this and much, and I'm just living in a tiny cubicle, or I have to live with other people just for the sake of me being abroad? Does that make sense? While I could go back home in Ruaka, like a whole 2-bedroom or even 3-bedroom could be 50K per month. And I'm like, was I working that hard and studying that hard just for me to come and fit my life in a tiny cubicle? Or do I just go home and experience the good housing? Especially, guys, I'll do a room tour of my room currently. Yeah, I live in a house. This is a house that we share with other housemates. I'll do a tour of my room. You get to see how it is. It's a bit spacious, and the more spacious it is, the more expensive it is, So that's another valid reason for me to want to move back home, because we have very good housing, affordable housing back at home, especially if you can afford rent, like in a good place. That's another valid reason as to why I should want to move back home. Because honestly, yes, we want to live large, but we don't want to live large in a cubicle or to be sharing our houses. Oh, please, no. The next con actually is getting a work visa is hard. And it's true. Like, getting employers who will sponsor you to get your work visa, it's not that easy. Actually, I think the statistics, I can't remember on top of my head, but I think you'd see it's like 5%, and very few employers actually do that. And the rules are, again, very strict. When you're on a work visa, you have to work for that in that organization for 5 years. And I was like, whoa, 5 years? Like, I can't just go there, work, maybe 2 years, learn whatever it is I needed to learn and move on to the next. And you're like, okay, then it's not going to be as easy for me to really remain here. Of course, there are graduate visas, but the graduate visa is only 2-3 years, which again, it's good. If I'm really desperate to remain here, that's an option to go for. But again, it's not as easy. It's not as easy as just, looking for a job, applying for a job and telling the employer to sponsor you, and they sponsor you and that's it. I actually heard there are companies that are telling international students currently that you get the graduate visa, and then after the graduate visa, we shall give you a work visa, now the one for 5 years. And then after those 2 or 3 years, they decline. What do you have to do? Yeah, you've guessed right, you have to go back home. Another con for me is that I'm not sure. So I mostly work in the NGO sector. That's where my expertise lies in. So I know the UK is like a hub, especially Europe, a hub for so many NGOs and international organizations. But the probability of one getting a job, a good job that you're proud of, and a job that will be able to sponsor your visa, how easy is it? Could someone just answer? Any international student or any person who has been able to transition easily, please answer for us in the comment section below, because I've not yet met one. Of course, I've heard of people who have even moved from Kenya and gotten jobs abroad in the NGO sector, but I want like a more recent example, because I know after COVID so many things have changed. So the process again is not as straightforward as saying I want to remain in the UK, me not going back home. It's very complicated and a very complex process. The final con, because I feel like I actually had way more cons than I had pros. I did indicate here no immediate family support in case of emergencies or accidents. And perhaps this is me catastrophizing again. It's just thinking that I'm far away from home. And let me tell you guys, being away for those few months, I have appreciated home so much. Like just the feeling of being home, like this is where I belong, like this is mine, like nobody can tell me to move away, or nobody can tell me I don't belong here, because I do belong here. And so that feeling of that lack of immediate support from your family members, you know, or not just knowing, oh, if anything happens, I could just call my sister and ask my sister to come and she'll be able to come in the evening. It's not as easy as that, because again, I've mentioned I don't have any family in the UK. Of course, I do have friends and all that, but in the UK, everyone is busy. Everyone is busy, okay? You know, in Kenya, it would be like, my sister could even decide, let me not go to work today, let me just go and see how my sister is doing and all that. And she could be able to ask her boss for a leave, you know, and just come. So that moral support, and I can't really quantify exactly what I mean. It's not, we cannot put a price tag on that. The moral support you get from your family members or even your friends, or the good camaraderie that we have as Africans, I'm not feeling it here. Yeah, let me just say the truth. I'm not feeling it here. The culture, of course, is different. People are different. I mean, what did I expect? This is not my home. I should expect that. So, and perhaps they even think that even me, I'm not like a good person. You know, you never know. I'm not feeling it here. So the feeling, that feeling of I don't belong here, like this is not my home, like I always have to come correct here, like I'm always, you know, quote unquote watched. Not that I have done anything wrong, but just knowing that at the end of the day, this is not your country. Like, yeah, that's not really good. Actually, let me stop it there. So that's actually my thought process actually to making the decision of whether I want to go back home or not. And honestly speaking, currently I'm not really desperate to remain here. Having thought about all those cons, I'm not that desperate to remain here. Then again, going back home, it's not as straightforward as saying, after my master's I'll just go back home and that's it. Because again, you're like, oh, I went abroad for the master's. I know the question in my mind, like, how useful was that master's, you know, for you? Will I be able to see the fruits in the short run, or I'll have to wait for me to be able to see the fruits or the advantages the master's program, you know, adds into my life? Will it improve my quality in any way? Will I be able to get maybe better jobs than I would attract before? All those are questions. Or will I even be able to get a job? Let's begin there. Will I even be able to get a job for me to move back to? And then there's the question of, alienda tu Ulaya na amerudi tu pale pale. You know how Kenyans we are. You just went abroad for all that time and then you're still back where you left us, you know. I mean, people may be just trying to mock you, and that shouldn't really scare me. I'm not one to care about what people think about me. I mean, if you're not paying my bills, if you're not feeding me, why should I care about what other people think? So that really doesn't scare me that much. But I think the lie we tell ourselves is that would I want to move back when the quality of my life, moving into a better job? I'd really want that. But if the worst comes to the worst, I'm gonna go back to the same job I was doing, or the same level of a job I was doing. And that means I'm gonna have the same quality of life I was having back then before I left, which was not bad. I really appreciate, and perhaps I'm speaking about like a spoiled brat here, a really privileged person. I know I am speaking, and I really thank God for all the blessings. But all those are things that are going on in my head. But I'm like, it is home at the end of the day. If anything happens that is not good, I'll be at home finally. I'll be at home. What could go wrong when someone is at home? So for now, I think that's where I am at, moving back home. But I'm not like tossed off the idea of also remaining in the UK completely. That's why I'm saying, when people nowadays ask me, what are you going to do after your master's? And I've been saying, I'm going to be where opportunities are. Honestly, where opportunities are going to show up, that's where you're going to find Regina. It can be in Kenya, it can be in the UK, it can be in any part of the world, really. I'm not so selective, because again, looking at my age, it's time to explore, it's time to push the boundaries, it's time to, believe in all possibilities, that anything can happen, and whatever happens, it's going to be a blessing from God. So that's all that has been going through my mind as I'm thinking about whether to remain in the UK or not. And perhaps the international people, especially Kenyans, Africans, you can tell us whether the grass is greener here, because I feel I wouldn't be in a good position to answer that question so much, because right now I'm only in the education system. I'm just here to study. I'm in the university. I've not tasted the life outside there after the studies. So I would be biased to say whether the grass is greener here or back at home. That's not something I would be able to really respond to. But again, another con. So we talked about the weather, we talked about getting the visa process is not straightforward, getting job opportunities also, it's not as straightforward as people would think it is. Something else that has happened in this country, I think day by day this country is adopting very nationalistic policies, and basically they want to cut down on the number of immigrants. They really want to reduce the immigrants coming into this country. So I think sometime last year in December, if you saw it in the international news, you saw that they did increase the minimum wage that an immigrant can come here for, or can get a work visa for. So what does that mean? Does it mean that those organizations who offer work visa will have to increase the minimum wage? And how many employers are willing to do that? So you also, something like no immigrant or any worker visa will be given to dependents, so your dependents will not be getting visas. And this is even true for international students. The issue of saying that, you don't get to bring your dependents, and just thinking if you are a mother or if you're family and you want to move into the UK, that's going to be challenging for you, because that means you cannot bring your children into this country. So really asking myself, as someone who does not really believe in such political beliefs, especially nationalism and all that, is me wondering whether the UK is a better place for me if I really want to pursue my dreams of living abroad. Is a better off country than any other country, really. Those are the questions going in my mind. And that means the UK, it's even a crazy place to start a family. Honestly, For any person from Africa, you've tasted what having nannies is and you have been able to establish your family here, kudos to you. Honestly, kudos to you, because honestly, personally, I cannot imagine having a child in this country. Like, affording nannies, it's crazy, and you have to be taking your children to the nursery. I mean, this is more of a culture of do it yourself. It's not like back at home you can afford nannies, house managers, housekeepers and all that. So it's not easy, especially on a woman. It's not that easy. And I know here they mostly do, it's a partnership 50-50, but in the long run, I wouldn't see, especially at the time when I maybe want to begin a family, in the long run I don't see myself really staying here in this country. So that's something again that has really informed my thought process. And again, I'm saying my final answer is not yes or no. I'll be where opportunities are, because I mean, in this economy back in Kenya and even here, we cannot really be selective in saying, oh, I didn't want to stay in that country and that's why I came back here, and then I go back home and then not get a job opportunity. You know how crazy that is going to be for me. Yeah. So yeah, it's a complex question, and I know perhaps even other international students are grappling with the same question, you know, really figuring out what exactly do I do. Do I go back home? Do I stay here? Or what is the best chance for me to take? And even here, even international students, getting a job, it's not that easy. It's not as easy. It's a crazy world. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave your comments down below if there are any tricks, if you are one-time international student, or if you are a Kenyan or African, you know, leave your comments down below. What are your survival tips to remain here? Or if you decided to remain here, what was your thought process to remain here? If you didn't have family, like, what sort of support systems have you been able to establish in your friendships and all that? I've actually been able even to meet a few Kenyan friends, and it has been so lovely meeting like fellow Kenyans. I'm like, oh, you understand me. I haven't spoken Swahili in a few days. Please come here. That has been wonderful. It has been so cool. So I'm really loving, you know, networking and getting to meet fellow Kenyans who are here. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, leave a comment down below and hit the notification bell. See you in the next video. Bye. Adios.